Hello and welcome to Lee on the Lectionary. Today we're looking at the lectionary readings for the week known as Proper 15 in Year B. And those readings are Proverbs 9 verses 1 to 6, Ephesians 5 verses 15 to 20 and John 6 51 to 58. This Sunday's lectionary readings point us to Jesus as wisdom for life. Jesus is wisdom for life. In Proverbs 9, Miss Wisdom plays the hostess and issues an invitation to all. She has prepared a feast of bread and wine and meat and calls anyone who wants wisdom to participate in this lavish dinner, which brings insight to the immature and sense to the simple. Her invitation is mirrored by Miss Folly from verse 13 onwards. Miss Folly appears to offer something similar, but is not at all what she seems. What she offers is an illicit alternative to the wholesome fare on Miss Wisdom's table, which often seems more exciting and enticing, but actually Miss Folly's feast ends in the depths of Sheol. Wisdom versus folly. Well, wisdom versus folly is also the theme of our reading in Ephesians chapter 5. Many will try to deceive us with empty words, that what God calls immoral or impure is actually perfectly appropriate for those who are called saints and won't end in judgment. In that context, we are not simply to refuse to associate with such soul-destroying seduction, but also be careful about how we ourselves live. To avoid folly, we must understand what pleases the Lord and what He has revealed to us about His will for our lives. God's will, it's not simply His distant, vague, benevolent hope for us, but His command in His word. There is a battle going on for mastery of our hearts. That is the context of the instruction here in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 18 not to get drunk, because when alcohol takes control, it leads to reckless debauchery. To be drunk is to be senseless, like those without sense being appealed to by the persuasive ladies of Proverbs 9. The alternative in Ephesians 5 is to be controlled, guided, steered, driven, inspired by the Spirit of God. And that leads to an alternative lifestyle. These participles in verses 19 to 21 all look back to the imperative being filled, be filled, and so describe a Spirit-filled life. So, like the drunken, people who are filled and led by God will sing, but their singing will be of an entirely different character. It won't be coarse or crude, greedy or gross, but spiritual, scriptural, and full of gratitude to God. Those who are filled with Jesus by the Spirit will submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives to husbands, children to parents, slaves to masters, and fulfill their reciprocal obligations of loving care. Husbands to wives, parents to children, masters to slaves. In the Gospel reading, Jesus also offered food to his people when he said, "I am the living bread. Eat me." Just as Madam Wisdom and Madam Folly in Proverbs were not offering literal food, so Jesus' thought here is far from the monstrously cannibalistic. As he says in verse 63, it is the Spirit who gives life, not any carnal sense of eating. What he offers is spiritual union with him, that Christ might dwell in our hearts through faith, as Ephesians chapter 3 put it. The bread that he offers is the food of his word, which we ought to delight in, like a sumptuous banquet, bringing life and health to the weary and the famished. As the Puritan commentator John Owen put it, wherefore the word being prepared as spiritual food for the soul, faith receives it and by a spiritual eating and digestion of it, turns it into an increase and strengthening of the vital principles of spiritual obedience. And then doth the word profit those who hear it. Why would we want the fast food of worldliness, knowing what and where that leads to, when this is on offer for free?